Hi everyone, it's Kathy from Ontario Farm Fresh. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're trying to do these webinars every Monday night on a different topic that will help our members get through this COVID crisis that we're all dealing with right now. Last week we had a panel talking about how they're staying open during this crisis. This week, we're lucky to have Hollis English, join us to tell us how she's staying connected with her customers. These webinars are being recorded and they're all on our website on the /COVID-19-news. If you don't have that link, just send me a quick email. It's the same link as last week. We're going to collect all the COVID information in the same place there. So again, thanks for joining us, and I'm going to hand things over to Hollis.
Hi guys, thanks so much, Kathy, for asking me to be here. It is wonderful to get to talk to you guys and contribute to what everyone's trying to do at the moment. So I appreciate you coming in and listening. And yeah, I'm really hoping to be able to share lots of different ideas about what to do, what your suggestions everyone has, because it is a whole new ball game and no one really knows what we're doing. So yeah, we're happy to share what tactics we've tried. So when I was talking to her to have questions at the end, so I have one of my lovely staff members here with me. And so if you guys have questions at all, I think the best way, I think Kathy and I thought, was to put them in the chat. So if you have questions, fire them away into the chat, and Jude is there and she is going to help me moderate them at the end. So just in case that you don't forget, then they can just stay there. So I shall get to it. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you again, like I said, for coming. I appreciate it. I feel like days aren't just day to day anymore. It's hour to hour. And so you never know how you're going to feel or what you're going to be up to, but it is good to be here. And yeah, away we will go. So Kathy had asked me to talk about the things that we've been doing when we're trying to connect with our customers. Even when our doors are closed. So like many of you, we have seasonal businesses and we close every year at Christmas for ourselves, and then we reopen in the spring. So communicating with our customers, I guess, while we're closed is something that's not new. But I would also say that we've been doing absolute crap job in the past of actually doing that. When we're closed, we all like to kind of take some downtime, decompress, and we say we're going to post consistently and just don't. So this put a whole new level of urgency in needing to connect with our customers. So we really tried to up what we were doing and respond as quickly as we could, because obviously this is unfolding in real time. So previously, like I said, I think we have done a pretty mediocre job in the past, but anyways, we're trying a few brand new things we've never done before. What have we done? So I think that the way that I broke it out, I don't know, I wrote a bunch of notes and then I tried to break them down into different topics and sections to give you guys some key takeaways and hopefully share some examples of things that you guys will find helpful. So connecting with our customers, I felt like there was 4 really key aspects of that. 1 was using your voice, 2, sharing knowledge, 3, being able to pivot and change direction, and 4, reaching out to others. So I just think those are kind of what we've tried to do, and then I've broken them down with some examples of each of those. The Hope and Hand Soap there on the screen was one of the first things that we posted after all of this started to happen, because nobody knows what to say, no one knows what to do, and we sat in the office and we were trying to come up with something to post, and we were like trying to rhyme, and we didn't really know what we were doing, but that's what we landed on. We put that on our road sign, we put that on social media, and it's just simple and small, but it was something where we could recognize what the situation was and acknowledge it without being too heavy, without getting too much into it, that we were recognizing that at least some things were different. So getting into using your voice to speak to your customers directly. Again, trying to categorize them a little bit for you, but one was to show up candidly, admit that you don't know, be positive and practical, and share some of the hard stuff. So I will get into it. So the first thing I feel is so important, and as us, our team in general, was to really show up candidly. I think first and foremost, that's what people want. They want to be able to connect with a person. And, you know, as a business, you are multifaceted. There's different family members, there's different people involved in your business, but I think it's important that people hear directly from you if you can. And that just brings an extra level of comfort to what people are hearing, what messaging they're getting. And I know that on a normal week-to-week schedule, we have one of our team members that does a lot of our social media. She's fantastic. We schedule posts, and there is definitely a place for that. But if you can, I would speak directly to your consumers yourself. And I know for myself that I waited a long time, that I had lots of team members who have said, oh, you and Calder should, you know, really get on there and social media and talk. And I'm like, oh God, nobody wants to see me. I look like crap most of the time. I don't want to be recorded. I don't want photos of me, any of that. I feel self-conscious. And that's been for a long time that, you know, people have said, you know, people want to connect with that. And anyways, I just had to get out of my own head, and Calder has done a bunch of sessions online about farming. I've been trying to share some stuff with baking. And so I think that, like I said, just being present yourself, and like I said, there to show up imperfectly and be real, and that it's okay if you look like crap and you look frazzled. It's okay if you look great. You know, it doesn't really matter. People are just really wanting you directly from. And then, like I said, as a reminder, just to turn off your scheduled posts if you're using any kind of software for that, because it will just pop up and remind people to show up for Easter or something, and that's not what you would want to have happen right now. So candid, I think, is super important. Admitting that you don't know. I think that is another huge part of being candid, but something I thought was important to address in and of itself. The post or the picture that you see there was I think the actual very first post we posted on social media after things began to unfold, after the school cancellations that Thursday. I keep going back to that particular Thursday because that's when it really felt real for me, when the schools started to close. And so we had March break classes for kids that were scheduled for a few days later. And so that was the post we used to announce that we were pausing, and then we were going to be stopping the March break, not holding those March break classes as we had planned. And as I have written here, that nobody knows what they're doing. So I think there's some comfort in that I don't think there's any wrong things to do or overtly wrong things to do. I think if you try and you're being genuine, then that's all anybody can really ask for. I also feel that a lot of what we had wanted to say before and what we all want to say, we don't say anything because we're so afraid that what we're going to say is going to look stupid tomorrow or going to look dumb. But I think it's better to say something rather than nothing. And we had a meeting the following Monday, I guess, after the schools closed on that March break. And you know, we came up with some sort of plan, and, you know, we're trying to figure out what to do, but it felt incredibly paralyzing. I think I felt sick to my stomach that entire week. And we just didn't know what to do. And I'm like, do we post? Do we not post? What do we say? What do we do? And I think it's totally fine that you don't know what to say or what to do, and you can tell people that, and your customers appreciate that because they also don't know what to say and what to do. So I think it just connects you on another level with them. It makes you a real person. If you can show up as yourself, you can be vulnerable and say, we don't know exactly what's happening, but that they just appreciate that kind of connection, I feel. Being positive and practical. So with the hope in hand soap, that was kind of our philosophy. We wanted to be positive with the word hope. We wanted to be practical with hand soap. And then we took that a step further and tried to make people laugh. Potatoes don't get enough recognition for their versatility. I know that feed people in a pandemic isn't on there, but I'm pretty sure that that would also be accurate. So much as possible, obviously try and be positive for people. There is so much negative and so many critical things and scary things and real things. And it's not that you can't be real, but I do think that it's so great just to help people laugh and see the light in things that you're doing. And then I think just accepting that you can be present wherever you are, however that looks, just being there and showing up is such a huge value to your team, but also to your customers as well. One other thing Calder and I were talking about this morning, I had sent him my presentation last night, and he sent me a snippet he saw on the Weather Network, and it was how people were panic buying chickens. And I had a couple of crazy thoughts immediately come to mind about people doing that ethically and how they were going to be taken care of and all of that. But Calder's take, and I think it's right, is that people are so uncertain about their food security to the point where they're buying chickens. And it's partially funny, but it's real, and people are afraid. And he said, I think we need to reassure people that we're going to be here. And when I texted him back, I said, it's a hard dynamic reassuring someone that you're going to be here when you yourself don't feel reassured and you yourself feel uncertain. And his response, I will probably turn it, I told him I was going to put it into a post, but his response was that there are some certainties in what we're doing, and we have 4 perennial crops that are going to come up no matter if the world is on fire or not. There will be asparagus, we will have strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries. If you did nothing else, those 4 things would still grow, and there's certainty in that. And I think sharing that with your customers is so important. And I mentioned to Jude today that I think another whole post just saying, these are perennial crops. People don't know what's annual. Sharing that, if you walked away from the farm tomorrow and came back, obviously things need to be pruned and maintained, so that maybe that's not the right angle, but that those crops are going to be there. And so that felt comforting to me, even as I was feeling low this morning. And so I thought that would be something worth sharing with your customers as well. And then lastly, being kind to yourself. I think we all beat ourselves up a lot and are super hard on ourselves. So just reminding ourselves to be positive, but just giving ourselves a break, because it is unprecedented in our lifetime of dealing with anything like this. So I feel that that's a good reminder for all of us. Sharing the hard stuff, so using your voice for that. So definitely important to be positive and practical. But I do think as long as it's nothing that's fear-mongering or, anything like that, that it is important to tell your customers when you're not feeling so great and not all the great things. And I think that's one of, in general, the downsides to social media sometimes is it's absolutely perceived as a highlight reel of what's happening in your life. So just in general, in life, people post the best and share the best, and that's okay. But I think it's so critical that we share the difficulties, with a grain of salt, in perspective. But people don't want to feel alone, and people at home feel crappy and low. And so if you can say, you know what, I feel like crap too. This was hard too. I think they're just going to connect to you on a whole other level, and to just feel like it's okay to say that it's not okay. Because one of the things we were posting about our porch pickups, which I'll get to, which was great, but I kind of took a glance, at social media and our stories and different things like that. And again, I was like, oh gosh, it's positive, and it has all the great updates of how good this is going for us. And it is going well, but there's so many challenges in there too. And, I'm not going to get into why Shopify is not working the way we want right now with our customers, even though that's how I feel. But I think it was totally appropriate to tell them, you know, how hard it is that we can't hire back the staff that we can't hire. And I did. And I was at home and the kids literally were running up to me the whole time I was trying to talk. But I called every one of our staff that I could in person and talked to them on the phone and, you know, let them know we couldn't hire them back because I felt that's what I needed to do, because I felt so crummy about it. And I just shared that. And so I think that's really important. And the other thing too, is for ourselves, for our own mental wellness, for the wellness of our teams and other customers, that is just recognizing how being isolated physically, emotionally, mentally really affects each other, and how important it is if we can support each other, then we'll all feel a little bit better. So after sharing your voice, or using your voice rather, sharing knowledge to connect with your customers is something that I think is an excellent way to reach out to them. So some of the ways that we have done that so far is giving away what we know, showing them how, creating learning opportunities, and building relationships. In this slide here, Calder had sent this. Calder is my research guy. He's been doing so much reading. I've been avoiding the news and most everything for myself, but I do get tidbits from family members. And Calder sent me this graph, and it just boggles the mind as to how quickly things can change. And it is if all of you can see it, I hope, is a Google index search of how to grow vegetables. This is out of the States, but I expect Canada is almost identical, that overnight there is a spikes of thousands of people trying to figure out how they're going to grow their own food, and looking to farms and what we offer as a way for them to be able to connect their supply chain of food. So knowledge is absolutely super important. Okay, giving away what you know. So the first thing that I felt when everything happened, like most people, was helpless. I think that not feeling like you can't do anything, not knowing how to do, what to do, just creates such a terrible feeling. And I was at home with my own kids and that first weekend, and I just thought, okay, I can do, what can I do? I can give away our bread recipe. That was my first thing that I thought, and I ran it by Calder the next day. I took a video that I was going to post, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to check with Calder. I was 99.9% certain he would say, absolutely, go ahead, please do that. But I just thought, this is kind of a big deal, just being like, here's our recipe, make what you want. But I think that is important, and it's the last point, but I do believe that giving will result in more growth. If giving away your recipes harmed bakeries, then no bakery would ever write a cookbook. And I can tell you that my mom has hundreds of cookbooks in her cupboard, and I own tons. I think that sharing and doing that is not going to do anything but help grow your business and grow your customer base. It doesn't have to be something that you make. If you have a bakery, great, share a recipe. If you don't, it can be your grandma's recipe, your mom's recipe, something you do. Knowledge in any facet is so critical. And I just think it's something that you can offer that your customers can benefit from. The bread recipe was also twofold, because one, people wanted food, so that was an easy bread recipe, and two, it was an activity to do with their kids, so it was March break. And going forward, there's just such a huge percentage of the population that are home, so people are looking for things to do. So if you can give them an activity, if you can feed them, I think that is win-win overall. So what we did is just made a page on our website that is murphysfarmmarket.com/bake-at-home. And we gave away, I think, 4 or 5 recipes. So pizza dough, our bread recipe, chocolate chip cookies, pancake. Thank you, Judy. Pancakes. So we put those all up on there. We told them in a social media post, and then we just linked to that page. And then the other thing we started to do was to make dry mixes for our excuse me, for our bread, pancakes, pizza dough. So we gave them the recipe. If they have the ingredients, they want to do it, awesome. And then if not, we were offering that for sale as well in our online store, which I will also get to in a bit. But so we gave them a couple of options that there was no strings attached. The first thing I wanted to do was just share that freely. And then a couple days later, I think we started selling those mixes as a revenue generating thing. And I can't get over how many bread mixes we've sold. It's flour, water, no, I lied. Flour, yeast, and salt. You add the water at home. And you can see it online. The recipe is there. There's nothing to it. The ingredients are dirt cheap. We had bags on hand already, but we sell more, and maybe it's a particular time, but we sell more dry mixes of bread than we've sold in most days ever of actual baked bread. And we started selling baked bread, and the sales are like low to mediocre. But the sales of mixes is super high. So I can't believe it. I thought for sure that when we started offering baked bread that people would stop buying the mixes, but they're not. And I just think going forward, that's going to be a revenue stream for us, even when things go back to normal or whatever happens. Knowledge, showing them how. So I think one step is giving away something, telling them information, but I think you can take it to the next level and show them how. So people have a lot of time on their hands, as I said, to be able to show them how. I think that is so relatively easy to do. So Steph, Calder's fiance, made this wonderful video here. And if I click on it, oh, damn it. See, there we go. 1 second. Yes, there we are. It's going to start to go here in a sec. You can hear our wonderful niece and nephew in the background of that video. But so we shared this on Facebook and Instagram. Steph put this together. I think I put here, yes, in a free app. It's called InShot. So I do not know the inner workings of this. Steph would be a really great person. If you have questions, I think Steph is on here and might be able to answer them if she's not putting the kids to bed. But people really connected with the how-to video. So Steph went to all the work to record the stuff. Her kids were at home, like all around. And like I said, if you have the volume on, you can hear that. So it's something that she was able to do in a short amount of time. She was able to put in the instructions. I think that's important. People like to listen, but people really like text in their videos. And another thing, if you're doing Instagram stories, and I'm super new at doing this, but I know from as a user, I feel that it's really important to have text in there as well. So if you're talking and sharing something, people think that's great, but people connect with it more if they can read, which kind of seems redundant. But I know if I'm on social media or if I'm with the kids or with my husband or whatever, and I don't want it to be like loud and like shouting whatever it's saying, if I can read it, then I would read it. So I think that that's a helpful tip for someone. So this was about a 1.5 minute video that Steph did. And like I said, it really connected with people. People got to see exactly how it happened, because even with instructions, people are nervous. And I take for granted all the time the people's comfort level with baking and very simple things. And I have to remind myself, I have wonderful staff like Jude, who reminds me all the time what people know and don't know. She is a self-professed woman who hates to cook of any kind and bake. And she's like, no, I don't know that. And I was like, okay, great. So I run ideas by her all the time because it's just, you forget what it's like to not know something once you know it. So if you find someone who doesn't know and you can bounce ideas off them, I think that's so awesome. So I asked Judy a lot. Judy does know a lot of things also, but I bounce cooking and baking ideas off her. Graphic design, all of that, she's got that covered. So yes, if you can show visually, I think people connect with that so well. So that is something that we have done. Okay, now let's see. Oh, there we go. Creating learning opportunities. So we took a bit of a poll in Instagram and asked people if they would be interested in learning more about specific farming, agricultural practices, different tips and techniques, and there was an overwhelming response that yes, people wanted to know. So again, in that point, I was just talking about so much that we think that we know is common knowledge. We think that it's not worth sharing or mentioning because people know, and people don't know. And I think it's okay to go to the far end of the spectrum and treat people like they don't know at all, because, and not obviously patronizing or any kind of way like that, but I think it's okay to share basic information. And if people know, awesome, they'll skim over that. But I think you'll reach a segment of the population that genuinely does not know. So Calder and Steph started these last week. Our information sessions. Calder and Steph are big pun people. And I messaged him before I put that in. I was like, did you come up with that? Or did you see that somewhere? Or can I put that in there? And he started laughing. He's like, yep, you can put that there. So we just like, you know, every business is so unique. And I think that that's so fantastic. And just use kind of what you have. So we know how to bake, we know how to grow things, you know, we can cook, we know how to do those types of stuff that just share and create learning opportunities. Even if people, so this video with Kinley was Calder talking about all about how we prune raspberries. And, you know, if I think of the amount of people that watched it, I would say 5% maybe will be pruning raspberries this year, and we'll be like, excellent, that's how I'll prune raspberries, you know. But I just think they think it's cool and to connect with that. So today Calder and Steph did another video all about starting seeds, I believe. I haven't seen it yet, but that is something that people will connect with and use that information. So I think it's great to share information that they can use and take away, but it's equally as valuable to share information even if they don't know, you know, aren't going to, you know, grow their own potatoes, or they don't, you know what what that planting process looked like. I think it's great to share with them because people are home and they're bored and they want something to do. You can be an avenue of, instead of just watching YouTube all the time, and they can learn where our food comes from or share that with their kids. If there's tractors involved, you know, the kids will connect to that for sure. And having Kinley in there, I think, is fantastic because our kids are around. This is our farm. This is what we do. And it's important for people to know what we do. And then, yeah, just what I had touched on before, just about our food supply chains, that they do want to know more than ever where food is coming from. So if you can create learning opportunities, I think you'll have a avid group of customers paying attention. And then I think lastly on sharing knowledge is building relationships. So using, giving away your knowledge, what are the other steps that I had said? Giving away stuff, creating learning opportunities, and showing them how. All of those things lead to building relationships. I think that's what we want to do with our customers in person. That's what we want to hope to do with them in social media anyway. So they want to connect with us. So again, taking the time to connect back with them is so critical, because they want to be seen and heard just as much as we do when we're putting that out there into the world. So even, you know, really putting a focus on commenting on their posts, sharing their content, being a good listener. So this example is one of many of our customers that was making bread at home. So I don't know offhand how many, but I could not get over the amount of people making bread that had never baked anything before. So a lot of the people, well, I don't know what the percentage actually, but a lot of people had bought our mixes, but then a lot of people had the ingredients at home. So regardless, these people had not baked before and they were like, I'm going to try this. And it was so amazing to see how rewarding they felt, what they got out of that experience by baking bread, and being at home and trying something new. And we got to see the process because they were tagging us the whole way along. Like, here's our bread at night. Oh, here it is in the morning. Here it is after the oven. So that felt great to us. But I think then sharing that post, putting into our Instagram feeds, sharing their stories. So I would say we do share a lot on Facebook as well if it's a post, but I would say the more I'll call them behind the scenes or whatever stuff, more candid type stuff really happens on our Instagram stories. There is stories in Facebook as well, but I don't know anything about that. And personally, I'm mostly on Instagram, so that's where we stuck. So I don't think you have to go tweeting and doing all these things that you don't know how to do or aren't comfortable doing. I think the way that you connect with your customers that works for you, you go right ahead. You can share a recipe. If you have just an email newsletter, then share in an email newsletter. Then if someone is sharing back with you a photo, literally take it, put it in your next newsletter and be like, Sophia made this bread and she made this awesome soup, and take that photo and use it. So it doesn't matter what avenue you have. I think any of them will be fantastic. Ask them what they want to know. So they will tell you for sure. So Steph put in our Instagram story, tell us what you want to know about farming, and people wrote in and said, we want to know how to start seeds. We want to know how to, do this, home gardening tips. What should we be doing now to prepare for the summer? So Calder worked on addressing some of those things today, which I think is really wonderful, because then we can guess at what people want to know, but if you straight up ask them, they will tell you. And I think that sometimes we're scared to ask them, or I know I feel apprehensive to be like, give us suggestions. What do you want to know? Because I'm like, what are you going to ask me for? And then if it's in public, I feel like I have to acknowledge or respond to that, and then maybe I don't want to. But I think most of the time people are going to ask you questions, or I think someone asked for our chocolate cream pie recipe, or one of that things that she said is a girl that I do know, but she lives far away and can't get her pie. I'm not opposed to sharing that down the road either. So right now we're focusing heavily on carbs, lots of bread, pizza dough, all that stuff that's quick and easy, that doesn't take stuff. So probably the other reason that I didn't go straight to a pie recipe is that it's more complex. It requires more ingredients that people may or may not have. I don't want to promote people going to the store to bake at Murphy's and, heading to the grocery store to pick up ingredients. So it's a fine balance, certainly, of offering knowledge and things and empowering people without feeling responsible for what people are going to do with that information. And I just think, as I wrote here, that I think every single connection that you make online is going to translate to a person walking through the door. Our followers on Instagram and Facebook have, in the last 3 weeks, have grown more in the last 3 weeks probably than in the last at least 6 months or to a year. I have not specifically looked at the stats. But our engagement is through a photo of that. I thought that was boring information, but it is up, tons and tons of percentage, because we have showed up, we've told people things, we've shared things, we've given away things, people are sharing our stuff. So I just think that those people, all those new people that have engaged with us now, whenever we can be open, that's going to translate to people coming in to the store. So I think it's pretty much win-win all around. Pivoting and changing directions. Any of my OFMA friends who watch Friends will appreciate this post picture here. One of my favorite episodes of all time. So necessary to pivot. Super, super necessary. And that is what we're going to try and do, or what we have been trying to do as we go along. So a few different ways to pivot and change direction. Things that I thought were relevant is connecting to your why, embracing technology, letting go, and kind of accepting where we are currently at. So connecting with your why. So I'd written about it, and then I didn't really know how to explain it other than to share this book with you. If any of you have read it, it's a phenomenal book. It's super easy to read. Start with why. I think one of the things that I've been thinking about over the last few weeks is honestly, why are we here? What are we doing? But a lot, why are we here? Like, why are we even here? Should we be at home with our kids? Should we shut the doors? Should we be doing more? And that book specifically, but I had read it maybe in February, and I had asked Calder if he would read it as an audiobook when he was grating potatoes, and he said he would. So he did, and we got to talk a lot about it. So that was pre all of this stuff, but I think it's super helpful. I mean, even if you don't read the book, the premise is honestly just understanding where you've come from and why you are here. So I think if you can recognize why you do what you do, and you can put that into words. You know, it can be as if you have your mission statement or, you know, values as a company written out for your staff. Maybe it would be helpful to write them on a chalkboard, to, you know, have them in front of you at your desk, on the wall, in the washroom, staff washroom, wherever, saying, this is why we are here. We are here to connect with people. We are here to feed people. We are here to, you know, support our community, and any of those things. It doesn't have to be a fancy statement or anything, but if you can remember why, then I think that's just such a guiding force for what you can do moving forward, because anything that you do, if it's in alignment with why you are here, then your customers are going to support it. They are going to show up and be there. If it feels like something you would do as a company, as a person, as a brand, people will show up, and they will come, and they will be here. And I think the thing too is that those things, feeding people, connecting with people, all those things we try to do as direct farm marketers, are still of value. And I think right now, sometimes I feel more useless than ever. And just like I don't have anything to share, I have no value to bring, but reminding yourself why you are doing what you do. Why do you farm? Why do you bake? Why do you, you know, sell direct to consumer? Why is that part of who you are as a business? That will help significantly in guiding where you're able to pivot and move towards. Embracing technology. Here we are, Exhibit A on Zoom. I never Zoomed before, and in the last 2 weeks, we've been joking, I'm Zooming all over the place here on webinars with my brand new nephew, with my friends from university I haven't talked to in forever. And I think everyone's doing it, and I think if anything comes out of this whole thing, that it will be that we're more connected than we ever were before. And I know the irony of physically being apart, but being able to embrace technology is so huge. So the thing to remind yourself is that you know how to do the technical skill. You know how to grow things. You know how to bake. You know how to cook. Or you're a teacher. You know how to share information. And if all you have to learn is the technology, and I say all you have to learn, but you know, it's more user-friendly than ever, and ask for help. You know, like I said, I'd never Zoomed before. I didn't know how to do any of that. So being able to ask for help, ask your team, put out there on social media. I have other, you know, friends that have businesses locally who are like, if you have questions about selling online, just ask me. I'm happy to chat to you. I find people more generous and gracious than ever. So being able to embrace that is huge. So one of the main things that we have done in order to connect with our customers and to make sales is to do our porch pickups. So our POS system is Shopify, and it is, I said earlier that I was having trouble with Shopify, and we are, and I can get into that later if you would like, or if anyone has specific questions. But our POS system is iPad based. It is what we have had for probably 6 years now. We've been using Shopify. And so we are, have been using that. So with Shopify is mainly also e-commerce. So it came with an online store option. And so we've had that for ticket sales in the past. And we have used it very minimally, hardly ever before, but it was there. It already had our inventory in it because that's what we use, as I said, as a POS. So we literally had to go into the buttons of items and turn them on. And then all of a sudden they were there for our customers to purchase. It is super easy in that sense of being able to visibly see it. The logistics side of operating has definitely been a bit trickier. I'm sitting in the front of our market right now at our cash counter, for example, and every single transaction that would normally go through where I'm sitting has all been online. I'm looking around and it is a warehouse of flour and yeast and granola and orders and all sorts of stuff. So it's just so strange. But definitely that has been a huge thing. We've never been open prior to Easter before. So we were expected to open this Thursday. And so just being open at all was something that we weren't even planning on. And our team is small over the winter. We anticipated everyone to start back the 30th of March was our anticipated start date for all of our returning staff. So We did not have that happen. We're operating with a staff of probably 5 to 7 core people. And I think one of the biggest things for us is that everyone is doing a job that isn't their job, and you know, embracing change and supporting us, which is so amazing to have that, you know, that they're jumping in wherever is needed. And we so appreciate that. And I didn't know how many porch pickups we would even have. We didn't know how popular it was. And so we just put, you know, 10 bread mixes and 10, you know, pizza doughs the first day. And those were gone and sold out instantly. And I was like, okay, oh God, how many mixes are we going to make? What are we going to do? How are we going to keep up with that? So that's what we've been working at in Shopify, trying to figure out how to manage inventory. So again, I can talk about that later if you have specific questions. But it's been super popular. One of the other things we did with our porch pickups to connect with our customers was to handwrite them a note. Again, in my perhaps naive thought that we weren't going to have a ton of orders, I asked the girls to write thank you notes. We have thank you cards that we use on a regular basis with our customers. So I have probably 5 or 6 pre-made postcards, and I can share more later, but they're just super basic. We got them on Vistaprint. They're all branded in that on the back, the black and white side, it just says Murphy's Farm Market and Bakery. On the front side, I did up generic ones. So there's thank you ones, I'm sorry ones, celebrate, a few different things. And we have those on hand for our customers to use, or sorry, our staff to use to give to customers. So they sit out in an open spot of the market, and they are there to encourage people to handwrite notes to our customers if they feel that that is something that is needed. So if someone's picking up cakes for a birthday, then note the sub card and we just write, you know, thanks so much. We have thank you cards. We have I'm sorry cards for when we screw up. When we use a lot of those, whenever, you know, we make a mistake or, you know, we want to extend apologies for anything. It's just a great touch point. So we kept doing that with our porch pickups. And I felt it was more important than ever because they can't see us. They can't talk to us. So I thought, you know what, a handwritten note could be really great. So now I don't even know, I'd have to ask Judy, but she keeps ordering more thank you cards because we keep going through them all. And that's incredible. And I'm like, oh, you know, should we keep doing those? That was great when it was going to be, you know, 20 or 30, and now we're doing however many a day. And, but part of me doesn't want to take it away because people absolutely love it. If everything that they post on social media, the thank you card and the handwritten note is in there 9 times out of 10. As a way that they feel appreciated as a customer. So maybe we can't do it forever, but we can do it now. Another idea I had was even just putting in a recipe card or a generic, you know, tips and tricks, maybe for asparagus when we get to asparagus season, but then leaving a spot at the bottom that says, you know, from Judy or from Holly. I think when they know that it's a real person who has taken time to pick their order and make it, I think that really connects with people. Okay, sorry, I'm trying not to ramble. And then classes. So that's the other huge thing that we have just done. So the photo there, image is the logo that Jude had designed for our new classes. So we've talked about doing classes literally for years and years before I even started the market, I think. And we never known how to do it, etc. But we were also looking at from an agritourism point of view, no avenues to be able to connect with customers on that kind of level. So we wanted to try classes. So we were fortunate that one of Jude's best friends does online-based classes as a job. And just for us, to offer us help, she just got on a Zoom call. There I was Zooming again. She took her own personal time, unpaid, because she's Jude's best friend, and just said, this is what I think you should do, and you should totally do that, and this is what you should charge. And I 100% would not have been doing this now if I didn't have someone who actually knew what they were doing. I had not confidence in myself to be able to do that. So find someone that knows if you can, or have any resources. There are a ton of resources online as well for online classes and courses. So, excuse me. So what we are doing is online baking class. It's called Murphy's Made from Scratch Classes, as you can see. So they are going to be done live on Zoom. So we are selling those in the online store. It is a package, a series of 4 classes. So it's going to be every Saturday at 10 a.m. Starting this Saturday. So we're picking 4 different recipes. So carrot cake, I think, this weekend for Easter, scones, French onion soup, and squares, berry crumble squares, I think. So I picked something that was easy, something I was comfortable making, something that would take under an hour. I really wanted to do bread because bread is all we've been talking about lately. But logistically, I had to abandon it because it needed to rise and we were trying to do a live class, and it was not going to be possible to do that in a short amount of time. So Jude's son has a mic that was a podcast mic, I think, and we tried doing it just through the laptop like this, and it was okay. Actually, I probably should have had that for tonight, now that I think about it. Sorry guys, if my audio is garbage. I didn't think of that until right now. So we had that, but literally nothing else. I have an iPhone, we have Zoom, and then we had a microphone, but again, not necessarily needed. And we're going to be hosting live classes. We chose live because that makes people connect with us at a specific time. Obviously, like this webinar, it will be recorded, and they can watch it back later if they paid to subscribe, but they have to buy that series package in order to do that. So something completely new, never done it before, super afraid, but I have wonderful team that are super encouraging and totally think that I can do it. So we are going to see on Saturday how that goes. So yeah, looking forward to that and seeing logistically how that goes out. And I think, again, going forward, that it is a potential revenue stream. If we find that that's successful, then people want to learn as much as they can. Letting go. I think that letting go is such a huge critical piece to pivoting in general. I can't remember what day it was, Monday, probably a day last week, where so that was almost 3 weeks in, I guess, when I finally let go of so many things that I couldn't do. And it took clearly a long time to get over, and not that I was like hung up on Easter, but I couldn't look at our project management software. We spent February being super organized, having lists and projects, and it was like click, 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 so great. And then all of it stopped, and none of it mattered anymore. Like none of the jobs on the list were relevant. Very few of them even needed to be done anymore. And so I just avoided looking at the to-do list because I just didn't want to do it. And so finally, at whatever point, I kind of came around. No one forced me, and I didn't really force myself, but finally I was like, okay, how can we do this? How can we still use this list and keep those things, for another day, but move forward? So I think that's super important with connecting with your customers, is being present in where we are at and just recognizing that we have to circle back, another time to some of the other thoughts that we had. And if we don't ever circle back to them, that's fine. If we do, fantastic. I think there's no right answer at all. One of the things I think too is that just how weird it is that all of a sudden things that used to matter to you so much don't matter anymore. Like our store, like I just described to you, if I turn the laptop around, we have curated, like all of you guys, beautiful displays and pieces to convey to your customers how to buy and how to make them feel at home in your store, at your stand, wherever you are. And then none of that matters anymore. And I was like, oh dear God, what does our porch look like? Is it swept? Like, on a regular basis, I do care about that, but probably not as much as I should in ensuring and going around. And so we have big black and white photos. The door is closed, but big black and white photos similar to what we have on our pie boxes that we had made 10 years ago. We have a couple up in the store, but most of them were sitting unused because we changed all the displays and we have no more wall space. But I literally took them and set them beside the display. I think maybe the next picture has them, because I was like, I can't just have people picking up off a plastic table at the front of the store. And we did that, totally did that for a week because that's what we could physically do. But then when we had a minute, we tried to work at, just being able to improve that experience a little bit more. Except for reality. Those are the pictures there that I just mentioned that I put. We have a couple of shelves there for display purposes, and that's where we put the orders every single day. A little piece of stability for people and comfort to them, I think, is huge. I think it's super important to communicate as frequently as you can with your team. Sometimes it's super hard because not everyone is close by, not everyone is in, but leading by example and being open to change and growth, I think, is so wonderful. The one thing I wanted to mention was the road sign as well. Normally we have something that says, or something like, open for pies and tarts, or, order, we're going to put order online or something, but we recognize that that people don't understand what we offer now, and we offer something different. So I would suggest that you be as specific as possible. So we did, order your essentials online: flour, butter, eggs, milk. Like, that's exactly what we wrote there, because people expect us to have pies, people expect us to have tarts, but they don't expect us to sell yeast and flour, and we are now. So tell them something they don't know instead of something that they do. And lastly, wrapping up, is reaching out to others is a huge way to obviously connect with your customers. Obviously, being on this conversation with all of you guys in OFMA is absolutely huge. It is a huge support to what we do, and I wouldn't be anywhere without all of your wonderful help and support. So I just am excited to keep talking with you guys to know more about what the next steps are for everybody. So talking to local businesses, obviously that includes OFMA, people across. We have an amazing network. I think that's super important. But even closer to yourselves, if you have something really local to you that you can offer support and help. So two things that we have done, or two people that I contacted. One was the Modern Market, is the local cafe. She had to close down, and I messaged her and just said, she does exclusively gluten-free baking, and we do not. And I knew that, I don't know her super well, but I just said, if you want to offer anything on your online store, offer anything on our online store, you're more than welcome to. So she has decided that she would like to offer some of her baking. So we're going to start that up at the end of the week on our online store. We're going to have a section called the Modern Market, and she can, so she's going to tell me how many muffins or donuts or whatever she's making, she's going to be able to produce a day. They'll be able to order from us, and then I will, she'll just invoice me. In this instance right now, I've just told her I will list those without any upcharge or wholesale or anything like that, just because I felt that that was something small that I could do. Our online store is there anyway, and if she's going to deliver them to us packaged and ready to go, it's as minimal amount of work for us and something that we can do for the community, then we can. Our local movie theater can't be in operation, and she has a ton of stock of candy and pop and all sorts of stuff, and she said, could I put together movie night at home candy packs? Would you be interested in selling them, or having them? And I said absolutely. So one of the things I think that you can leverage from that is obviously doing something good for someone else, feeling grateful that you can operate as a business yourself, but then connecting to someone else and saying, great, how can we help you? And they're going to post on their social media that we can buy candy packs or things from the cafe at Modern Market. So all of a sudden your reach for customers, even if you have some of the same customers, great, but there's a good chance that tons of their customers aren't your customers yet and don't know about you. So I think that that is an option that really benefits both parties as you go along through this. Keeping in touch with staff. First and foremost, your staff are your number one set. I think as a always, but they're also your customers. I think sometimes we might forget that when we look at customers and we look at, would say that their staff are also their customers, and your staff are connected to loads of other people. So making sure that you're letting them know what's happening, super important. And I also shared a little bit to on social media about how important it is for our staff that can be working, and also how important it is for our staff that can't work and be at home, and reminding them the value that they provide to the community by taking care of their kids, by staying home, by doing what they need to do for their own families. That is super critical and super important. And I am just so proud of our team that is here and is doing 20 million jobs that they've never signed up for. I am proud of our staff that are at home and just, trying to keep their kids entertained. So I think it's great to tell them that as much as you can. I'd mentioned our project management tool, Asana. So that is what we have been using to stay on top of stuff. We do email our team on a weekly basis throughout the season. They get a weekly newsletter through Constant Contact that we use for consumer newsletters. I think that's super helpful. It's been a couple of weeks of not knowing quite what to say. I sent out one the very first week after everything started happening, and I haven't sent out another one in about a week and a half or so. So I'm going to send out another one this week just to let everyone know where we are at. And so these are staff that aren't currently working that we can't hire back, but I would just want to keep in the loop with what is going on. Last thing we're going to try is a Zoom lunch date with everyone. Actually, Tim from Leaders for Leaders, who we saw at the workshop, had sent an email out, and he's doing lunch and learns as an option to build with your team. But I just thought, why couldn't we just do a free Zoom thing just for our own staff, and anyone who's there can hop on board and say hi. So I think that is great. Reaching out, accepting help. So I think that is super important, just to take people up on their offer. I think people are genuine. I think people want to help as much as possible. And if they offer you something, definitely take them up on it if you can, and use the resources. Obviously, OFMA is an incredible tool. Facebook, Instagram, NAFTMA, everywhere out there has so many ways to learn and grow. And I think it's great to take a moment or two and read up on something, incorporate one new idea. It doesn't have to be a complete overhaul of your whole business. And then that it's okay to not feel okay. I had an absolutely crap day. I cried most of the day, I feel like, which hasn't happened a lot lately, but I totally did today. And I was trying to make myself look like I wasn't crying all day. So I appreciate you guys so much. I am so thankful for the wonderful group of people that we have, an incredible team. But yeah, just being okay with accepting help and reaching out and sending a text or whatever that looks like for you to help others, I think is so, so important. Lastly, last slide. This is Farmer Finn here. So involving our families has been, and children has been one of the things that we've done a lot to connect with our customers. Farmers are adaptable. We always have been. That's comes with the job. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And because that's where we're going to grow. That's how we're going to learn. And it's so important to be able to talk to our customers, reach out and see what they're doing, and just let them know that we're here for them. So this was a snippet of Finn cooking pancakes with Steph as part of one of the tutorials that we did. And he speaks on it, and it was just a perfect way to end what we're doing. So.
Don't whisper it. Say it out. Thanks for watching.
Oh my God, I die every time I watch that clip. Thanks for watching. If you didn't hear Finn, that is what he said. So thank you guys so much for listening to me chat and ramble on. And yes, so yes, I can go through some of the questions if you guys have any thoughts on those. So I will.
Thanks a ton, Hollis. What I'm going to do, it looks like there's a few people that have their hands up. I don't know if people realize there is a chat bubble at the bottom of your screen. You can write questions in there if you want. But it looks like there's a few people people who have their hands up. So I am going to try and let them talk. If we can do that, we will try. So Heather, you've had your hand up for a while. Hopefully you can talk now.
You there, Heather? Pardon? Okay.
Maybe we can't unmute you. I'm sorry.
Um,
That might be part of this webinar feature. Heather, are you? It looks like you're unmuted. So if you can talk.
yeah, it
Guess
shows.
not. Al, did you still have a question? Do you still want to ask a question? Okay, I'm not sure if it's me or if it's on the other end, but I'm a new Zoomer as well, so.
So it says that they're allowed, where it says that Heather's allowed. So at the bottom of the screen, like there's the allow audio button. I don't know if Heather has unmuted herself.
So I was just wondering, Hollis, as far as you were talking about some of the different posts that you're doing, do you have any general sense from the analytics which ones have been received the best?
I would say the bread post recipe. So the initial post that we were sharing recipes for people to bake at home, and then probably the bread tutorial that Steph made are the videos that are the highest analytics and the most shared by other people. So we definitely have different demographics of customers, but on Facebook, I don't know off the top of my head, but the amount of shares was significantly high of the tutorial and of the link where we were sharing our recipes. So those two, I think, definitely were the highest.
Okay, great. And you mentioned your in-farmation sessions, which are very, very cute. And where do those live? Or are they just posts on Facebook and Instagram, or are you collecting them somewhere?
Right now, they're just posts. So the very first information session Calder and Steph did, we put in the stories in Instagram. So those are, they only live for 24 hours there. And then we pulled them into, I believe if we haven't yet, we will, into our highlights. So in Instagram, you'll have highlights where you can save your stories. So we broke them down into topics. So we have a bake at home one, a field one, so we can then save them there so that they live, I guess, forever in that zone. Steph did the one today as an actual post in our feed on Instagram and on Facebook. We talked about, Steph was looking at a feature today that allowed you to create a series. So when you do a video that's longer than a minute, you can't post it in your feed in Instagram. So you have to put it through IGTV, and then it makes a post in your feed, but then the actual video lives kind of on the IGTV channel. In there, she found a way to do series. So we might be able to do a whole bunch of baking series and that. So it's kind of like a YouTube channel-ish within Instagram that allows you to have videos there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much for all the work you did to put this together for us. You guys are doing some really cool stuff. I love how the bread kits have just taken off, and it wasn't something you were expecting at all. So it's You just
know.
got to put it out there and see what happens, see what people want to get.
And I mean, I was thinking about like price point too. And I'm like, so our loaf of bread, a baked loaf of bread is $5 if you come into the market. And bread in general is very high margin, depending on what bread you're making, but that particular bread is super inexpensive. So I'm like, how much can I even charge for a dry mix? Like, I don't have to do any work. I didn't know. And so we've charged $3 for it. But honestly, in retro, I mean, I don't know that I would have probably made it $5, but I could easily have charged $5, the exact same amount as a full loaf of bread. And we would have sold just the exact same amount, I'm almost positive. So I don't know. I guess it's a bit different. So we sell baked pies in the store, and then we sell frozen unbaked pies as well. And they're the same price. And I'm almost positive it was an OFFA member 10 years ago that told me to make them the same price, even though you haven't put the effort into baking them and, whatever, the overhead and all of that. And we did, and we sell like no one, very few people, I can't even think of any off the top of my head that have asked for it to be cheaper because they have to do the work. So in retrospect, I could have probably, like I said, charged the same, and, but it is what it is. We're happy.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. Thanks again, Hollis. We're going to set up something else for next Monday night, so hopefully you guys can all join us. And I've sent information out about a survey, and if you can take a minute to fill that out, that would be great as well. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, Amy has a question. Can I answer that?
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So Amy just asked about adding an e-commerce and what Shopify was like. So I said a couple of times that I wasn't super happy with how it was going. I think everything is a learning curve for sure. So how it works for us is that Shopify, as I said, is our POS, and then we have an online store that automatically is there. So the thing that we've struggled with the most with Shopify is collecting the orders. So it's easy for customers to purchase. So the store is there, you can customize it, and experience for customers is super straightforward. But on our back end, I've really struggled with, and I say but I mean my team has been amazing, and I haven't had to do much of this. They've done a lot themselves, but packing orders. So when we receive the orders, we get a confirmation, and it shows up in our orders on the back end. It'll say Hollis, the order and the date. But what we're struggling with is that we keep having to add on apps to Shopify to get it to function the way we want it to work. So in and of itself, at least in my personal experience, Shopify is crappy because it doesn't do anything that you want it to do until you add on apps. And again, this is totally just my experience, but it requires other apps. So the app we added on is maybe free for the first bit, and then it's $10 a month to give you a pickup option. So then you can add on that, and then instead of delivery, you're allowed to do in-store pickup, and then you can pick a date and a time. So that's how we've been functioning, is adding a date and a time. But then when you're in Shopify, you can't search by pickup date. You can only search by the date that people place the order. So it's, I don't know, we're just not finding it super intuitive on our back end to be able to go, okay, this is, we want to pick up the orders that are being picked up on Friday. You can't search for that. And the inventory has been off a little bit. So if someone has something in their cart but doesn't purchase it, and then someone else purchases it, it will oversell by 1 or 2 before it recognizes, which has been slightly problematic. We've been able to, quickly pack, whatever a bread mix if we need to, but if it was like a finite baked good, we would have had a harder time with that. So there's a new app. Jude, did you say it was called Zapiet? So another app. So Holly, our retail team leader, has done a ton of research to see which apps function. So Zapiet is a new app that might be helpful for us. That's going to allow us to have in-store pickup to get rid of delivery so people don't think that we're going to ship stuff that makes the back end easier to use, because right now it's just very time consuming. So we get the order, they print out a list of what they need, they go around. So I'm not sure. I was talking to Melinda from Heatherly the other day, and they are using ShopKeep as their POS, and then they've embedded a new online store on their website that's separate. So I said that I might ask her a few more questions. It's just funny because it never mattered before what our online store did, and that the back end was, whatever, that had no impact, but now it does. And I'm like, not that we're considering overhauling completely, but the extreme level is like completely getting a new POS system strictly because it's not functioning well. So I'm not sure that we're going to do that. But if you have any other questions, you can always email me anytime. If you would like, it's just Hollis, Hollis, at murphysfarmmarket.com. If you have any specific questions, or I can ask my retail girls if they have any answers or anything.
Another thing you might want to consider, Amy, is local line, and it's almost it's some guys out of Kitchener that have set up, it's almost like a Shopify for farmers. So maybe go to their website and check out, see what's going on. They were at the Fruit and Veggie Convention this past February. Local line, I think it's .ca.
Great. See, and yeah, it's just so many things that I don't even know anything about. So it's functioning, but it's not amazing yet.
Right. Well, folks, that's it for today. Thanks again for coming. And this will be up on the website as well as soon as I can get it up there. So good evening, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye for now.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much.